Hi guys, and welcome to another Facehammer video all about the old world. A new article dropped yesterday about mustering your forces or army list design, which is quite an important thing for getting to the game. So I thought I'd do another reaction video to cover it. If you've not seen the series before, it's just me talking through the article, giving you my insights. I've been playing Warhammer Fantasy Battle from 4th edition all the way up until the implosion of the end times, or should it be explosion. And so I thought I would just give you my insights on this, and obviously people who are not aware, going forward we will be doing quite a lot of old world content on the channel, so make sure you subscribe and hit the bell to get notified when we release new content. I have got a flesh eater video that's going out shortly, so for people for AOS content, then we've got you covered. So without further ado, let's get into the video and let's talk all about the new article, which is about army list design. So the article went up yesterday and it's all about mustering your army. It's talking about Bretonnians as context, a bit like they did with the Grail Knights with universal special rules. So let's get into it. Now it talks about the different types of units. You've got characters. These are your heroes, wizards, lords, ladies, whatever they are. Your core, which are your basic troops, and there'll be a minimum requirement for these. These are like your battle line for using Age of Sigmar-ism. Which was obviously stolen from the old world in the first place, much like most of their units and lore. Then you've got special, so these are your kind of veterans, your kind of good stuff, the stuff you want lots of, and your rare, these are like your really unusual, sometimes quite powerful units. They also talk about mercenaries and allies. Now, they've distinguished between the two. Now, back in the old days, some of you might remember Dogs of War or Regiments of Renown, and hopefully they'll be coming back. I'd love to see those back in the game. In terms of allies, I'm not sure what the difference is between a merc and an ally. Maybe there's some penalties for leadership, or you need a hero to do an allied contingent. It says from another army list, so can you ally in stuff from like another faction? It would be nice to be able to take like Beastmen in a Chaos Warrior army and vice versa, just because that's kind of thematic and cool. I don't know how I'd feel about Tomb Kings having orcs in it or something silly like that, but we'll see. I mean, with narrative play, you can do what you want, but I think for constructed, to use a magic term, kind of match play, to use an Age of Sigmar term, I would like it to be kind of maybe self-contained. I know back in the day there was and the way this works is percentages, which is confirmed by this army list here. So I'll talk about that now. So before, we've had things like you can have up to 1 lord per 2,000 points. You can't have a lord and 1,000, up to 3 heroes. So you had like slots. You had to have 3 core units. You had to have up to 4 specials, or you could only have up to 2 rare, which was good in principle, but it kind of led to weirdness because your cheap specials almost became a tax, because you were like, well, I want like decent veteran units, but if I take like Carrion and Tomb Scorpions, I've got no slot. So it being points rather than slots, I like that. I like the fact they've gone with that direction, that decision. So I'm very big fan of that. It does mean as well that you might be able to spam certain units, but as you can see from the Bretonnian army list below, there's more to it than that. So this is a Kingdom of Bretonnian army list, and it's the Grand Army composition. It says characters up to 50% of your army can be spent on, but there is also slot restrictions on certain units, so 0 to 1 Duke. So you can't have more than 1 Duke, and you can't have more than 1 Baron or Prophetess per 1,000 points. But you can have as many as you want, Paladins, Damsels, and Sergeants, up to 50% of your list. So what I like about this, you've still got the control of restricting, because what you had to do in the past, there was quite heavy comp in the competitive play community, because Games Workshop literally just went, here's a book for your boots. And that's attitude's kind of changed with match play and Age of Sigmar and things like that. So what I'd like to hope is that the Specialist Studio, for the people that I know or I think I know are involved, I'm pretty confident it's going to be a well-balanced, thought-out game. So what I'm hoping is the slower pace of Old World, because I'm sort of going to assume it's going to be like Horus Heresy, is that there won't be these loopholes that get closed, but by the time they're closed, there's already been multiple events. I've even heard one player say, "Oh, I could have bought this many podiums with this list before they fixed it." And I kind of feel that's a problem in the game, and I hope that's not going to be there in the old world. So I like the fact there's a double mechanism. And my point is back in the day, there was comp, and people would say you can't duplicate rares, or you can have more than double special to stop spamming. But the way they've done the army list is quite clever, because you've got the percentages, but you've also got these other restrictions, and an FAQ could easily fix a restriction or modify it if they think, oh, suddenly we're actually getting loads of this as a problem. Let's move that unit from a take as many as you want to a 0 to 2. So I hope the studio will drive that based on community feedback, rather than the community doing it in isolation, and it's almost at odds with the studio. There's a bit of a disconnect between sort of games design and the player base. And what I understand is some of the people involved are from the old player base back in the day. So I'm hoping that's all going to be gravy. So it says here, core 25% must be spent on, and you must have a unit of Knights of the Realm on foot, which is cool, and or mounted. So you've got to have a unit of Knights in a Bretonnian army. That's nothing new. That's always been the case. Why wouldn't you have Knights? It says you must have a unit of men-at-arms and or peasant bowmen, and that is new because a lot of people didn't take peasants. So you do have to take some peasants. They need some followers, which, you know, I don't know how you feel about. Maybe there'll be a different list where you don't have to take them, because they could write multiple of these restricted lists for each faction. So you've got a bit like an Age of Sigmar, you've got the themed armies. Maybe that'll be a thing. I don't know. So you've got 0 to 1 units of knight errant per unit of knights. So that means that you can't just take errant knights. You've got to take 1 for 1. What that does, it kind of forces your army to look like an army. You know, when you read the background, or you see the art and you see the army composition, your army's going to look like that, which is great. And that's I think that's one of the big appeals for Warhammer Fantasy Battle, or the Old World, or Total War, is those mass troops looking like a martial force. You've got some archers, you've got some cavalry, you've got some infantry, there's banners, you know, there's some war machines at the back. It looks cool. It looks good on the tabletop. It's thematic, and it's mass battles. That's what we want. And there's a big gap at the moment. There isn't anything like that, really. I mean, I know there's, like, people say there's Kings of War. I know there's that Game of Thrones game and stuff. And no disrespect to those games. I think having a flagship model company like Games Workshop abandoning that style of game, bringing it back, is a good sign. So anyway, special 50%, and it says Squires, Questing Knights, Pegasus Knights, Mounted Yeomen, 0 to 2 units of Battle Pilgrims. So they're capped as well. I don't know. I think they're the guys holding up the relic. I can't remember, but well, maybe they're rare. They used to be rare, I think, which might be why they're in the special slot now, because they never got taken. 25% of your army spent on Grail Knights. They're going to be in every list. They're amazing. 0 to 1 Trebuchet. So you can't spam Trebuchets, because if it was just percentage, you could have like 5 Trebuchets. No one wants to see that. Mercs, 20% spent on Mercenaries. Don't know what they are. Now here we've got Allies. 25% maybe spent on a sort of allied contingent, drawn from any Kingdom of Bretonnian Army or Infamy composition list. So this is a composition list. So this makes me think there'll be other composition lists where they will change these numbers and these units, and maybe even come up with new ones. I don't know. Where you might have, I don't know, let's just say, for example, a crusading errantry army or something silly like that. And then your knight errant, you won't need to take peasants, or maybe you do, but you don't have to take Knights of the Realm, or you can't take Grail Knights, whatever. So, that's cool. And it says one of the following Grand Army composition lists. So this is talking about these lists. So you can take Dwarf and Mountain Holds, and it says they're suspicious of the Dwarfs, Empire, High Elves, and Wood Elves, and they're also suspicious of the Wood Elves. So I don't know what that means in terms of rules terms, but that's quite cool, because already just from this one sheet, you've got a lot of options for future and themed armies, because you can change the allies up. You can change them from suspicious to whatever. I don't know if this is normal or there's another version that's like really friendly. You can change this up. You can change up how many dukes you have, take away wizards, whatever. For example, with Tomb Kings. You could have like a Cetra themed army and stuff like that. It'd be really cool. So looking forward to that. So it says here, so you've got flexibility to take blah, blah, blah. We talked about that. I'm not going to go through that. I've talked about it. So you've got the Lords of Bretonnia. So this is the different types of hero. So Duke, Baron, Paladin. So obviously these would be your old Lord choices. And this is your hero choice. And it says they're on a 25 by 25 base, which is infantry. So obviously Bretonnians, normally all the knights were mounted. It sounds like you can do a foot knight army. So if you wanted to do something that looked like something from the Crusades, you could fill your boots and that would look amazing. I know there's some really cool crusading models out there from when I was playing Saga, Crescent and Cross. So I would say have a look round if you want some cool knight models on foot. There's plenty out there. So it says you may take these weapons, and it says if mounted, and may take a shield, 2 points, maybe mounted, may replace their knight's vow with a questing vow or grail vow, got some points, may take a knightly virtue, actually up to 100, 75 or 50, so it's obviously like the highest level, sort of mid. I don't mean mid as in rubbish. And then you've got the Duke's got some special rules. It's Blessing of the Lady, which we know about is the ward save, Rallying Cry, Grail Vow, and these guys have got the Knight's Vow. So it sounds like the Grail Vow might give you like magical attacks, immune to psychology. That's what the unit has. Don't know. It's what it used to do. You might have to have the Grail Vow to join Grail Knights. I can't remember from the previous article, but stuff like that. So obviously you've got all these upgrades and points, and you can go, okay, well, I'll take this and that and this and this. So we can see from here that you've got these are highly customizable. And it's nice that it does say about being mounted, maybe mounted. So it doesn't tell you what the mount options are. But there you go. So it does also say your weapons give you some rules. Morning Star, +1 strength, -1 AP in the first round. Great weapon is -2, or +2 strength, -2 AP, strikes last. Lance is similar but only on the charge. Save shield gives you +1. I'm sure the great weapon will need 2 hands. And they say we'll gloss over knightly virtues. Apparently they're great. Mounts. So Hippogriff. Now, what's interesting here is your Hippogriff profile has +1, +3 here. And it says it's got close order, counter charge, fly 9. I guess that's his movement. Large target, stomp, swift stride, terror, may have barding. So it's got heavy armor apparently. So you can ride a Hippogriff. And I don't know. I think maybe that modifies the rider's stats. So, you would end up being toughness 5 with like 8 wounds. Which is interesting to see wounds above 6. Back in the day, that was always the case. Everything near 6 or less, so they could get cannoned, basically. There might have been a few outliers, but generally that was the case. You got men at arms. So these are your kind of peasants. And again, it's fairly straightforward. You got your upgrades. They've got what they're armed with, how many you need. They normally would have a points cost per model. I can't see it on here. I'm sure that'll be in there somewhere when we actually see the actual lists. And it says 7 points for the champion, 7 points for a Grail Monk, whatever that is. A standard bearer, a musician. So I don't know what a Grail Monk is. I guess maybe that dude there. And a Grail Monk. Oh, there you go. May have a blessed triptych, whatever that is. It says they've got the levies rule, horde rule. So horde, don't know what that does, but there you go. Warband. Again, don't know. Close order, which is just ranked up, I guess. The Grail Monk functions as a second champion whose blessed triptych will grant the unit stubborn. Okay. The first time they're required to take a break test, they don't need to risk a dice roll. Instead, they fall back in good order. Now, we've seen that before. It says combined with Shield Wall, which allows them to give ground instead of falling back. They're capable of stealing the impetus from the heaviest of cavalry. So sounds like you can go, right, I'll be stubborn, and that used to be unmodified leadership. You couldn't use someone else's though. I think you had to use your own. Might be wrong on that. And then you'd go, right, I'm stubborn, so I'm only going to fall back in good order. So it says in here, actually, they don't even need to risk a dice roll. So they just, we're going to fall back, but not be routed, so you can't run us down. And then they're going to say, actually, we're going to use shield wall as well, which means we just give ground, which I think you move back 2 inches, if I remember correctly from the other article. So you can basically guarantee holding a charge the first time, which could be really powerful because one of the tactics in the old game was hammer and anvil. So what you wanted to do was have a unit which could take a charge, and that would be your anvil, and a unit that would countercharge whatever charged it, which would be your hammer. And setting those kind of counters up was really important. And what's quite interesting about giving ground is that would allow you to pull their unit forward a bit if they want to stay engaged. I think they've got an option to not follow up though, so they could just be, you know, and then I don't know how that would work. Maybe flyers could fly over the top and go in the gap, because a 2-inch gap, maybe you had like, I don't know, like a skirmishy fly unit could fly over the top, or a hero. You might better do some funky stuff if they don't follow up. Setting these kind of things up is going to be quite key. Interesting to see how it plays out once you start gaming and seeing how these abilities interact with each other. So it says Grand Army is not the only way to set the force. Each faction will gain access to armies of infamy, which we've seen in the other list, which are different ways to muster a force. A Bretonnian lord you might wish to enter exile. A forbidden border prince, and you can take the forbidden border prince bombards to battle. Okay, well, those who just enjoy knights can take an errantry crusade. Oh, there you go. Errantry crusade. It says there's no old world on Christmas. It says check back on the 26th for an off-white Christmas. Hopefully not yellow snow. So I will try and record on that day. Boxing Day might be a bit tough, but I'll see. We've got a lot of family stuff around this time of year, but it sounds good. I mean, I like the fact you've got that combined list. It's got some nice options that you can combine percentages with choices, and you can also do themed lists like this, and it'd be really easy to, you know, just create new ones or add a new unit that's only available to, they talk about these bombards, so maybe there's a unit that's only available to Bretonnians border prince lists, and maybe there'll be special models for them. I mean, who knows? Really exciting stuff. But it seems like building the army list isn't a million miles away from what we're used to. If you've ever played the old game where you've got to pay per model and pay for upgrades per model, and then you multiply it all up together and get your points cost, kind of looking forward to that. It's nice as well that, you know, if you're playing Breach, you have to give a knights, a unit of men at arms, but if they were using slots, you'd have to have 3 units. But actually, you could just have a really big unit of knights to fill up your 25%. You know, 500 points worth of knights and men at arms in 2 big units, and then you don't need to have another unit. If that is where you want to go with it, which I think is kind of cool. Gives you those flexibility and those changes. I wish they'd use the Tomb Kings for these previews, but hey ho, can't have it all. Just means that when I get my hands on it, I'll be more excited to talk about it. And speaking of which, from the channel going forward, we will be doing content. I will be doing content on the old world. So I will be doing shows on these army lists with some examples, a bit like I do for AOS. I'm also going to do some in-depth kind of tactics videos once I've got my head around the game a bit. But what I will do on launch is try and cover the rules in more comprehensive detail. So if you want to get into the game, it gives you another way to absorb the rules. I know some people just don't like reading pages and pages of text. I know that some people struggle with that if they're dyslexic or you know, whatever. So I'll talk through those rules. I'll try and give some examples, just to try and make sure everyone can get up to speed quickly, and also talk about little nuances that may be easily missed, and, you know, give you my insights on how you could tactically exploit these rules if that's possible. And just generally try and stay up to date with updates and changes, FAQs and new army lists. There's obviously quite a lot coming out on launch. I mean, if you've got like all those armies plus the PDFs, it's going to take me some time to get round to it. So So that's it for the article. Thank you very much for sitting through the video and listening to me talk about Warhammer: The Old World. Hopefully you will have a good holidays, Christmas, New Year, whatever your holiday of choice is this time of year. Just make sure you have fun. And yeah, make sure you subscribe to the channel because I will be doing lots of Old World content. Thanks very much for watching the video, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Cheers, guys. Bye.